Our shower took longer than planned, and Aiden hadn't ordered the tacos, deciding we would just wait for them since they were always fast. He was quiet on the drive to the restaurant. I didn't try to push him, even though I wanted him to talk to me. He kept everything to himself. His thoughts and feelings were so deeply concealed that unless a person bothered to look into his eyes and see the hidden pain, they accepted the outward package. Strong, cocky, and playful. He was all that, but inside, there was more. He had a damaged soul, and as much as I wanted to help him, he had to want that from me. I wasn't sure he ever would. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review of the second book of the Vested Interest series, Aiden, written by Melanie Moreland. This book is a direct sequel to Bentley, and it follows the story of Aiden, who is the head of security for BAM, and Cammy, who wants to be his girlfriend, but so far they have only been friends with benefits, but she feels that she would like to get to know him a little bit better and also strengthen the relationship that they have. But Aiden isn't ready for something like this. He has a lot of stigma he carries from his past. So he is very reluctant to a romantic relationship. Of course, we will also meet the characters from the previous books and some new ones as well. Aiden, as a head of security, he is very tall and muscular, and he is also quite a decent guy, actually. He doesn't really go around doing, like, making people feel bad. He's just trying to work out and do his job well and hang out with the guys. But at the same time, he is followed, or he actually has very difficult past. And so he doesn't want anybody to get too close to him because he had learned that he is not really worthy of being loved and that he doesn't really know how to give love back to anybody. So you can imagine that when somebody like Cammy tries to get close to him, he is instantly on defense. And of course, he's trying to act like everything is okay. He jokes around and he can be very playful, and sometimes he's maybe too serious, which comes from doing his job very well. But it can also lead to some really difficult situations with him, especially because he wants to protect not himself but also people around him. Cammy, on the other hand, she is this young college student who works in a fashion store, and she lives with her older sister Dee and with Emmy, who is her best friend. And she also had a difficult past, but she is quite open about it and she doesn't let it influence her present life. And also, she is quite empathic type of person. She can see that there is something wrong with Aiden, even from the little bit that he tells her about himself. So she is really frustrated sometimes when he puts up his defenses. And eventually, difficult things start happening to her. And I think that for somebody like that, she actually doesn't react like normal person would, because she starts losing things and seeing things she doesn't understand, but she just takes it like, okay, this happens. But overall, she's a very likable person for whatever she's been through and how she deals with Aiden and his constant rejections. It can seem that even though he's very upfront with her about everything, that she just can't get the clue she's in love with him, and she is just persistent, which in some cases it can be very good, but there is a certain point where you have to draw the line, and maybe it's because she's so young and inexperienced, but her naivety can sometimes be really inspiring. Of course, I need to mention that there are some returning characters from the first book. There is Reed, the computer guy, and there is Sandy, who works for Bentley's company, and she acts like this motherly type to all three guys. Whenever they kind of fall apart, then she's this element that brings them back to reality and also makes them make up sometimes. But we also have some new characters. We have Louisa, who is this girl from school who wants to be Cammy's friend, but she can be a little bit odd. The romance had me scratch my head sometimes because it felt so obviously one-sided, even though Aiden was really clear about not wanting any romantic relationship. Cammy just couldn't help herself. She was so in love with him, and that can be good sometimes, but you can't really control who you are in love with. Obviously, it just comes up and it's there. And of course there are ways how to deal with it, but her persistence was maybe the best and the worst part of this story. And in the end, it luckily paid off. But at the same time, the way yet again she was quite young, so obviously she didn't probably know how to deal with it. So things needed to happen that would actually open Aiden's eyes. And actually, it wasn't even so bad in the beginning because he clearly felt some affection toward her. He even gave her a nickname, Sunshine, and it felt really nice. But later on, we see that Aiden is actually realizing, like, okay, I can't let my past influence my present life anymore. I can't let this stigma to just scar me like this. And it's the same with Cammy. She basically realized that, okay, this guy is pushing me away and I should probably just move on. But, I still feel it. I still feel like there is something that is okay. It is a reason for him to just push me away, but it's something that shouldn't be there in the first place. And so she doesn't give up. And that makes for a really nice romance, even though I think that most readers, or at least many readers, can be turned off by this push and pull type of relationship when Aiden just puts up his defenses and later on he's like, yeah, okay, we can hang out again. And then again she tries to hug him or kiss him in some romantic manner, and yet again he just shuts off. So, of course, in reality, I'm not sure if this relationship would last, but in this story, it was at least very nice to see how it can work out. Since both of the characters were not romantically involved, sex in this story was quite casual and quite normal actually, and not even kinky in any way. But at least the good news is that both characters slept only with each other for the time of this story. Even though this book had a nice balance of sex, romance and humor, I still felt like it was much darker than the first book. And I especially appreciated the humorous parts of the story, like when the guys, yet again, they went shopping into the store full of women, or when they talked about Bentley should be getting a Bentley car. And this was a really nice and conscious touch to the writing. But I think that the highlight of this writing in the book for me was that part where Cammy was pushed away and then strange things started happening to her. I actually felt quite uneasy reading these parts. I felt along with her, and maybe even more because sometimes she didn't seem to realize what trouble she was in. But at the same time, the writing in the story felt quite predictable sometimes, and I think that's okay because it was still a nice ride. We still get to learn something and see what happens when things go down this way, when somebody is in danger and somebody has to save them. Maybe some parts felt a little bit dragged out because Cammy had to stay at home for a certain time, and those were the parts that I really felt I would like to move on with the story. But overall, I was quite satisfied with the way this book was written. I would have to say that I didn't enjoy this book as much as I thought I would, because it was much darker in some parts, and even though this was a typical damaged hero story about a guy who just can't let go of his past and the girl who's trying to save him, it still taught me something. It still showed me how it looks when I put my defenses up, when I'm hiding my true emotions and feelings from the other person, and also how they feel about it, what they are thinking and going through when I do something like this. And I think that everybody would benefit from reading this. And I'll be, of course, curious about how this relationship will develop in the future in the next books. So I will be trying to review them as soon as possible. But this concludes my review. I thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Have a good night.